Well, I think I'm live. It took a minute. Hello, welcome to day 3 of the epic mock draft. I am here to do day 3 for the Arizona Cardinals. There's been a lot going on so far, and so I'm going to try to get you up to speed, up to date, kind of what I've done, and then what's showing up now. And see. Oops, I need to fix that. And right now, what I'm doing is trying to fix something. But there we go. I am doing day 3. I've made some trades. I've got some picks that I really like for Arizona Cardinals. I may have a guest joining in, Buzz, who was with me last night. Had a great time with him, talking the draft. We are in day 3, and I'm just kind of getting caught up. I created a draft tracker that's going to be a little easier to view, I hope. So in round 4, we had Logan Jones went to the Titans, and Skyler Bell, who I was hoping might slide, but probably wasn't going to. Oh, and if you missed it, I made a flurry of trades for the Cardinals, and what I've ended up with so far is, so I traded back to pick 5, and with that pick, I took Ruben Bain Jr. I made another trade up to get up to pick 26, where I took offensive tackle Blake Miller. And then I had my third round pick. I traded back a little bit, got Kamari Ramsey, a safety cornerback, a slot player, a position I think we really need someone who I think would be a good fit. I've made a few other trades. So right now what I have is pick 130 in the 4th round. It's the 30th pick of the 4th round. I traded away my original 4th round pick to move up to get Blake Miller. I've got pick 143, which is in the 5th round, pick 183, which is in the 6th, and pick 217, which is in the 7th. So I'm going to wait a little bit here before my pick. So Skyler Bell went off the board, Genesis Smith, Davison Igbenausen, Dalen Everett, Sam Hecht, Malik Muhammad, Eli Raridan, Jalen Farmer, Landon Robinson, Caleb Larms Ord, and then now Julian Neal. So got a little bit until I'm on the board. Listen, Heidenreich, if he's there at a certain point, I'll take him. I've got a couple other positions and players I'm kind of targeting, but I love me some Heidenreich. So right now, what I'm doing is just kind of I have a tracker where I'm keeping track of who's gone off the board. So I'm trying to get that updated just to make sure I don't, accidentally try to draft someone who's already been taken. I think that would be a problem. So Julian Neal to the 112 to Dallas. Let's see. I also need to mark off Eli Raridan on my board. I don't see him. Where he is? Oh, there he is. Tight end out of Notre Dame. I've got you don't see it, but I've got a separate board where I am kind of tracking the players and marking off the ones that have been taken, so that I know who's available. We've got Jalen Farmer. I got to mark him off. So he went to pick 109 to Philly. And Landon Robinson, that's an interesting guy that defensive lineman out of Navy. Let's find him. There he is. Mark him off as drafted. So that's a guy I might have, at least depending on the value, looked at. So looking defensive line, 109, or he went to 110 to Cincinnati. Okay, and then Caleb Alarms or a linebacker that I kind of like, who had a really good combine, really athletic. That's a guy I definitely would have considered, but he's off the board now. Taken by the Broncos. So 111 to Denver. Let's see, then we've got Dazon Stribling, wide receiver. I didn't have him on my list of guys that I was strongly considering, but I know he's a guy I've looked at in the past. So he's off the board. Okay, so now that's kind of where we're at now. Jake Slaughter, interior offensive lineman out of Florida, just went off the board. So I'm just kind of seeing how it falls, seeing who's left. I've got some players I'm kind of targeting if they're there. About 16 picks till I'm on the board, so we'll see how that plays out. Okay. Thanks to the three of you that are joining me right now, bright and early on a Saturday morning. So now it's just really kind of matter. See what's going on. Wait till we move. We get to pick 130 and see who's still there. So there's some good players on the board. There's some edge rushers out there, but I'm not looking to double up on edge rusher. So I hope we actually soon have a run on edge rushers, because if those guys come off the board, then that means those are players I'm not looking to take that are gone. So I really hope they have that edge rusher run. So now we just had Jake Andrews tight end. The Ravens took a tight end. The least surprising thing ever. They always take tight ends. So I got to find him on here and mark him off. There we go. Jake Andrews. He was out of Texas. Tight end. He was 153 on the consensus big board. So he is now gone. Pick 115 to the Ravens. Okay. So some of the positions I'm kind of hoping to target today. Yes, defensive line is definitely on my list that I'm looking at. I really hope we get some. Then Michael says at pick 217, take Jack Strand, quarterback from MSU, Moorhead. Probably not going to. That's not a guy I'm targeting. I am looking quarterback, thinking quarterback earlier than that, depending on how it falls. If someone that I'm hoping is there at pick 130, I'm probably going to take a quarterback sooner rather than later. If someone I thought might be gone isn't gone, might be looking quarterback, but I've got someone else that I've got my eyes on. There's a couple guys, but yeah. But let's see what's going. We've just had a cornerback. I missed Matt Golbin, interior offensive line. Also went off the board. Basically every time someone goes off the board that isn't someone I wanted, that's a good thing, because that means the players I want get pushed down just a little bit more. So the only person that's really been taken so far today that I would have really wanted to consider taking is Skylar Bell, but I didn't think there was much of a chance he would fall all the way to pick 130, so I am not going to worry about that. Parker, too high for me? Not necessarily. I mean, I'd prefer to take a versatile interior offensive lineman who can play guard or center, because I feel like we have a better chance to start at guard than center. With Froholt seems to be really solid for us, but I wouldn't. It's not too early as a player, but there are other players. A lot of other players I would prioritize over him. So I have a hard time seeing me take him, not because I think it's too early for him as a player, but because based on what I kind of have prioritized for the Cardinals, it's much more likely that there's going to be other players I want that are going to be there. Like the likelihood that all the players I would prefer over him are gone is pretty low. I think some of them will be gone, but there's probably going to be a lot of them there. So a lot of players I like. So I'm probably going to go in a different direction. So at least that's my thought. Grandizer doing what Grandizer does best, being the best mod in the business. Hey, Joe, where are you going with that mock in your hand? Hey, Joe, so where are you going with that mock? You have to, as sung by Hey, Joe by Jimi Hendrix. Yep, that's right. So where are you going with that gun? Where are you going with that mock draft in your hand? So far, knock on wood, cross my fingers, This round has the players that have come off the board are players that are cool by me going off the board because they're not players I would have taken, except for Skylar Bell, and I kind of expected he would be gone. So far, today is kind of starting out nicely. We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. But, okay, so Michael Taffy is safety. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. That's a guy I think is a lot low. I think he's kind of lower on the big board. Not a guy I was targeting for today. I already got my defensive back, so every player off the board that I wasn't going to take is a win for my next pick. So he was 183 on the consensus big board, went at 119, so maybe a little early for him, but if they like him, don't fault them for that. So we're getting to about 10 picks out from us. There's some nice players still on the board. There's some players that I'm surprised are still there. There's receivers, something I might look at. Defensive line. We'll see again who comes off the board, but in the coming picks. Defensive line, I'm definitely looking at, and maybe quarterback, depending on how it plays out. But I've got a couple of picks that are close back to back, so I think I know within 13 picks. So we'll see what happens here, how it plays out, but I definitely have a idea of where I'm going if they're there. Joe, were you getting other teams' content creators and doing a mock draft, or is this a site you're doing a mock draft with? So there's a gentleman who has a YouTube channel, and they have I'll drop their link. They're running it. So there is someone else who has put this together, and they've been doing it for years. I'm going to share the link to their YouTube channel. So this is a thing they've been doing for a few years now, and someone got me connected with them. So it's a coordinated effort that someone else is doing. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, there's someone doing picks for every team. So there's a lot of content creators. Okay, just had someone come off the board that was on my list. Chris McClellan, defensive lineman out of Missouri. That's a guy I would have considered. So that's when I'm don't like seeing that guy go off the board. But there's other players I like. So let's see, DeMonte Capehart. We got to get him marked off. He wasn't really someone I was targeting. There he is, from Clemson. So he went to 120 to Green Bay. Jacoby Lane, receiver. I wasn't really targeting him, so I'm fine with him going off the board for the Falcons. All right, I'm coming up. It's coming up for me. There's a couple players I'm definitely looking at here. Let's see if the one I'm thinking. Okay, Joe Royer, tight end, just went off the board. Was not targeting him, so totally good with that. Got to find him on my tracker, though, and take him off. Let's see, Royer. There he is, tight end out of Cincinnati. So he just went off the board at pick 23 to LA Chargers. Okay, it's going fast and furious. Now there's 2 minutes per pick today. Yeah, they're a little bit smaller channel. They've also got a website. He's been doing it for a while. He's got a lot of content. He just hasn't grown it much. But he's got a mock draft website I think he's trying to grow. Yeah, I'll see if I can get Chris to Buzz to kind of I'm going to suggest he puts his link on his Twitter account because I don't think it's there. I think he's going to jump on with me today. So yeah, he doesn't really have a link on his Twitter account either. So I'm going to encourage him. He should do that. That's a good way to kind of make sure people can find you, for sure. All right, 2 minutes per pick. Travis Burke. Okay, now that's a guy. I mean, I already got my tackle, so I probably wasn't going there. But that's a guy a lot of people like. That's a guy that he's lower on the big boards, but a lot of teams met with him. I think he's got the traits that you look for. And so he's a guy that's, I'm not surprised to see him go earlier than the consensus big board because a lot of buzz around him as a tackle you can get on day 3 who's a little more traitsy. So 100%. 100%. Yeah, they might have. Yeah, for sure. So got the information wrong. So indeed. Okay, so now we just had things are coming in fast and furious. Got offensive tackle Demetrius Crownover going to the Patriots. So I'm going to be on the board soon. And we'll see what happens. But do I get the sniffs? I got the allergies. Yeah, allergies have been really just doing a number on me. So yeah, been a little bit like that. So yeah, thanks for noticing. Okay, Jalen Husky, we've got a safety out of Maryland. Need to mark him off on my board. Let's see, find him. Husky. He was 212 on the big board. That seems like a little bit of reach, but 126. Never know where people are getting their rankings from, though. So, will I be able to do a cards roundtable with the peeps on my channel? It depends which peeps you mean. I can tell you that there's a mock draft Monday. We're planning a wrap up after the draft. Yeah, I think she'll be back. She's got had some things going on. But I think we're doing the mock draft Mondays between now and the draft, and the Monday after the draft, we are going to do a kind of reaction with multiple folks. So yeah, got something like that kind of in the works. Okay, so let's find Keon. Okay. Okay, so this is a running back out of Indiana. Got to mark him off. All right, they're coming off fast and furious. Got to make sure I don't fall behind. I'm on the board in 2 picks. So, Caleb Buck 127, Dallas. Then Mikel Kamara just went off. All right. Pick 128 to Detroit. One more pick. Bears are up. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So some of the usual suspects will be coming on for that. So, all right. I gotta lock in. So there's a bunch of edge rushers that felt like Romello Height, but I'm not going edge here. Yeah, like could have been. But I got something else if it works out lined up. Like there's some nice players there. Man, it's going to be tough to pick between here. And but I think, man, it's just hard to pass on if this guy's there. I'm not looking safety because I grabbed Kamari Ramsey, which is kind of a nickel / safety, and that's a player, that's kind of the position they kind of need, the Jalen Thompson replacement, someone who can be slot and safety. So, yeah. I'll tell you, let's see what the Bears do, because there's a player that I'm surprised is still here that I'm strongly considering here. There's really a couple players I really like. that I didn't think would be here. But I might have to just, yeah. I think I need to know. I think I know where I need to go if he's still there. Okay. So we're waiting on the Bears pick. And once the Bears pick is in, depending on what happens, I don't want to signal it to the universe yet. But we are waiting for the... Okay, so there we go. I'm on the clock, and I have to do it. Whoops. Okay. All right. And there we go. Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback. He was on. Listen, he's still there. How I got to take that, right? So there we go. Went with Garrett Nussmeier. Chase Roberts, yeah, it might be a little high. There were some receivers I liked better on the board, right? So, yeah, Joe dropped the boom, right? I mean, listen, he's this is going to be the third quarterback taken, and I got him at the end of the fourth round. I mean, I didn't think he'd be there, but he's 84th ranked on my big board, or on the big board I'm working with, right? Yeah, ride the Nuss bus. High risk, high reward. Like I wasn't taking a quarterback early with this year, but I'll take one here, right? So I will absolutely do that, and if it's that late, I will. So now I got to get kind of caught up on who's come off the board. So I got Chase Roberts. Got to mark him off as well. Yeah, that seems a little early for him. Let's see. That's very early for him. Someone must really like him a lot. So Chase Roberts went number 129 to Chicago. Obviously, we had Nussmeier, then Willie, the cornerback, went off the board. Now, I'm going to be coming up. I've got another pick coming up before you know it, so I do have to make sure I'm on top of this. All right. So we got Will Lee, cornerback, went 131 to Atlanta. Mark that. Then VJ Payne. That's a guy. If I had waited on safety, he's a guy I would have liked as well. But he's gone now. I probably wouldn't have been able to get to him. So, unless I took him that last pick, so makes sense. Linebacker Aiden Fisher was not a guy I was really looking at necessarily. I did not take a linebacker yet. I'm looking, but I've got some guys. Oh, there's a little bit of a run on them going on right now, right? There's still some guys I like linebacker-wise that are still out there, but yeah. So Aiden Fisher. Oh, no, that's one of the Bryce Botcher, though. That's the one I wanted. Oh, man. Okay. There's a bit of a run on linebackers now. So that's Bryce Botcher's the guy I really would have hoped would have been there. So it happens though. Emmett Johnson. This is worth sitting with here for a second. Yeah, here goes the run on linebackers. You take a quarterback like Nussmeier, right? And listen, I still like the pick because of, to get him there, it's, some people think he might go on day 2. You get a developmental quarterback. You still can take a quarterback next year, and Nussmeier can be a backup and if he's a backup for you as a 4th-round pick, that's good value. But the opportunity cost, right? Oh, Drew Aller, another quarterback, just went off the board. You have to think about the opportunity cost, right? So that's part of the calculus, right? You miss out on other players that you might like, right? So that's the calculus you have to think about, right? So that matters. So let's see. Let's get up to speed. It depends. I mean, in the first round, I didn't want to go far back because I still wanted to get Bane, which I did, right? Later rounds, 10 to 15 picks, depending. I try to look at who is on the board that I like, if that makes sense. And like how far I can go without missing out on still getting someone I like. So it does matter. It depends on how the board's lining up. So there's a little bit of that for sure. Let's see, Jack Kelly, linebacker. There's another guy. There is a linebacker on the board that I still like, and if he's there, my next pick, I'm probably gonna take him. Okay, so Austin Barber, Drew. I was not looking at Drew Aller. I'm not in on him. Yes, I get people love the tools, but I was just a no on him. Philadelphia got him here. Austin Barber. There we go, offensive tackle from Florida. Wasn't looking OT here because I already got one, so that's fine. He went 138 to San Francisco. Then Billy Schrauth, guard, Notre Dame interior offensive lineman. Wouldn't have, this guy would have considered maybe if the value was there. I mean, I think, yeah. I think, but guard is not a priority for me. The Cards have some young guards they've drafted. We got certainly a guy that we brought in free agency. Draft is sneaking up on us. I like when this time goes by super slow. Get to watch more interviews, more highlights. Yeah, it really does feel like it's really like snuck up on us. I mean, it's just about here for sure. So, yeah. Let's see. I got it. Got someone asking for something. All right, I'm going to send this. Keeping a tracker with taken players. Someone's asking for a player tracker. I'm sharing it with someone who I was on live with yesterday. Okay, so now we just had Jets taking Armaj Reed Adams guard out of A&M. Okay, let's get him marked off, and then we got to go over to the next round. Let's see. There we go. A&M. Your offensive line taking 140 to the New York Jets. All right, now I need to make sure slide this over so we get here to round 5 and don't want to miss what's going on, especially where my pick. Okay, Jonah Coleman already off the board. Joe, how many years has Monty conducted a draft? He's on the hot seat. I don't think hit this big or this year. This will be his 4th draft. I know a lot of fans think he's on the hot seat. I think at this point he has as long as Mike LaFleur has. That's what I think. I don't think he's on the hot seat like a lot of people do. And so yeah. So I think he's got some time. Whether that's fair or not is also a fair question, but that's just what I think it is. Right, Jonah Coleman's off the board. Jonah Coleman, 141 to Minnesota. All right. So now we get a couple picks till the next pick. So I need to look at there's a couple guys I like that are still there. I picked 130 and I said 143 and 183. So I got a while after this one. So I just took Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nuss. QB. So I've drafted a QB. All right. So looking at what's coming up, I'm on the board in 2 picks. So I have to pick their man. There's a guy I like that I might have to take. There's a couple of guys I like. Let me just I mean, I like how he's approached free agency. Myself, because I have my philosophy in free agency. I'm not about going big all the time. You go with value and depth, and then you focus on the draft. You know, I need to see some of his draft picks hit a little better. I mean, he's had. I think his picks have been better than people give him credit for, but you know, I get the frustration. So, you know. All right, so what we're looking at, I have to make some decisions. I think I know what the decision is going to be. If he's there. So there's a couple picks coming up. So let's see how it works out. All right. So responding to comment. The rankings are from the PFN consensus big board. So I can't take. Someone's mentioning. All right, there we go. Okay. So, coming up, waiting for my next pick. Jonah Coleman is off the board. I wasn't taking him. Early in the mock draft process, I was a little higher on him, but after seeing some kind of discussion of him from some folks who, I'm not as big on him at all. So, so I see a few folks are using my draft tracker, which is nice. I create this draft tracker. I created this in using in such a way that it kind of pulls from the main tracking spreadsheet they use. Because their version has a lot more stuff on it, a little more cluttering, and I kind of it didn't present as well. So I was like, hey, I'd like to have a version of this that I could share in the stream that looks a little better, and so I created this version that it imports the data from their site from their tracking spreadsheet directly, so it auto populates, but it cleans it up and formats it a little better for presentation. So I did this, and I also shared it with other folks that wanted to, might want to use it, and lo and behold, some folks are using it, which is kind of, it's always nice when other people are using something you created, if that makes sense. So, all right, gotta get this tracker back up to the top. Why is it not? Come on, scroll back up. Okay, so now we're waiting for whoever is supposed to be making this next pick to make their pick. And the Titans, whoever's picking for the Titans, is technically behind. So let's see what's going on here. Who they taking? Because I'm up next after that. All right. When I'm on the board, there's a couple players I'm debating between. And, oh man, there's maybe 3 players I'm really debating between, and I'm wrestling with this. Okay, I'm on the board. Okay, I'm on the clock. So I know who I think I want, but I want to just look at one other possibility. No, I think I'm going to go. I think I know who I'm going to go. Okay. Come on, get down here to the spot. Okay, I am on the board. Okay. All right, there we go. Keyshawn Elliott, linebacker, Arizona State. Got us a linebacker in the 5th round. Pick 143 to the Cardinals. Okay. There we go. Love it or hate it. Add some linebacker depth. Get a linebacker that I think some people really like. And there we go. Address linebacker. So my picks, Keyshawn Elliott, linebacker. In the 5th round. Okay, now we've had a couple other players go. We've had, let's see, Joshua Josephs. I think you might have. I think you may have. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was. I know folks in my stream have talked about him, which is kind of part of why I kind of, he's on my radar. And we need a linebacker, and some people really liked him. So he was there, and it made sense in terms of the where he was on the board. I mean, in terms of at least the rankings I'm working with, the PFN consensus big board, it was roughly where he should have gone. So it made some sense there. So there we go. So let's see, got to find Nick Barrett. Okay. I know Buzz, he's picking for the Giants, just picked Nick Barrett. And he was talking about, when I was talking to him yesterday, that they need some help against the run. So going with a defensive lineman who can help stop the run. All right, we got a linebacker. So the run on linebackers, right, is going. What kind of linebacker is he? A run stopper, pass catcher? This is a good question. I need to probably look a little. Let's see. Keisha. Admittedly, I haven't looked closely at that. I mean, he's definitely more of a run stopper who can even pass rush a little bit. More of a box. Like his coverage grade isn't as good as his pass rushing and his run defense grade. So he's more of a Mike. Who's gonna help you in that regard. So let's see. We've got Murdoch. He was out of small school out of Buffalo, but some people really like him. Really good grades, high productive. See how he could, let's see how he does with NFL competition, right? Okay. So it's flying through here. My next pick is going to be pick 183. So got a little a little bit of time till I'm up on the board again. Okay, Romello Height, another edge rusher going off the board again. I'm not looking edge rusher because we got one early. Yeah, and I'll tell you for Keyshawn Elliott, people probably aren't paying attention to him a lot outside of here. To be honest, that was really based on the grades, right? Monty does not prioritize smaller schools. He'll take definitely not early. I know Steve Keim did, right? We remember that Keim really liked the small schools. He's Monty has prioritized bigger school prospects, with some exceptions. Later, for example, Keaton Crawford out of Reno. That's smaller school, but he's taken small school players on day 3, but early he's really not. I mean, he's really focused on the bigger school. Ohio State obviously is one that he really likes. So yeah, okay, we've got Parker's Brailsford. Man, picks are starting to really come in now. Let's see, he is a center, Brails. Okay, out of Alabama, so get him marked off. He was pick 149 to Cleveland. And then we've got Malik Benson, wide receiver out of Oregon. He's off the board, taken by the Bills, 150 by Buffalo. And then we have Kayron Crawford, who kind of slid. There we go. He was ranked 93rd on the big board, coming off the board here at pick 150. One. I don't know what's going on here. Someone put him in the wrong spot. So he's 151. Hopefully they'll fix that. Miami. My tracker pulls directly from. It looks like they're going to work on fix now, hopefully. So my tracker pulls directly from there. So if they mess up the rows and the columns, I can't do anything about that. Hopefully they fix that, but we'll see. Okay. Oh, okay. It's fine. It's just I see what happened. There's a row after it. See if we can. That's weird. Okay. I fixed it for them. I went into the spreadsheet and fixed it for them. Okay. Miles Scott, we have a safety out of Illinois. 49ers took him, so let's find him. Miles Scott. Whoa. That guy was ranked, at least on this big board, 360. So whoever's drafting for San Francisco must really like him. Let's see where PFF has ranked. See if that's just an anomaly. That I don't know. That seems okay. Miles Scott. Miles Scott. Yeah, PFF doesn't even have him ranked. Well, they like him, whoever's making theirs. Jacoby Thomas, Eagles safety. I'm about to sneeze. You have to bear with me. All right. All right. Yeah, right. Should have jumped into San Francisco spot, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Excuse me, didn't get to mute quick enough there. Jacoby Thomas. Okay, that's the guy we talked about yesterday. Miami would have been worth taking a look at if we still needed a safety. So 153 to the Eagles. Yeah, you mentioned him yesterday, right? Yeah, you Hoyen Vaya. You mentioned him. Hoyen Vaya. You mentioned him yesterday, right? When we were talking about that. So he's gone. But again, I took Kamari Ramsey, so I don't need a defensive back anymore. So I got 2 picks left, and what I'm really kind of hoping, receiver and defensive line are kind of what I'm hoping there. Okay. All right. So let's see. So we got, my next pick is near the top of the next round, the 6th round. Man, these allergies are no bueno. All right. So picks are flying off the board, which is nice. Yeah, it's funny. Like thank you, thank you, Hovaya, thank you, appreciate that. They estimate, they project when we'll be on the board, and based on the 2-minute timeline. And before it started, it said my first pick would be 11 a.m. Obviously, we've already passed that because people are flying by, which is nice. So they were going to be doing a live stream, and they're not. There's a live stream scheduled for right now, but they're not going live. The channel that's doing this, so here we are. Okay, so let's see. Cage Casey, that offensive lineman, I believe. Okay, there he is from Boise State. Yep. Cage Casey. So pick 154 to Baltimore. Okay. Then we have Tareen York. That's a linebacker I would have considered later if I had waited. So he went off the board. So obviously I would not have been able to get him. So, good thing I got my linebacker, I guess, right? 155 to Tampa Bay. Let's see. So, all right. Kennedy. Now this is a cornerback. Jaden Kennedy. Let's see. That. Oh, how come I don't play the outro song? I can play that, the mock draft Monday. It's some of it's a little dated, but like in terms of the imagery and stuff. But I might be able to I might throw that out there just for old time's sake. I still have it. I think, do I have it? Do I have it in here? Did I upload it? You know what? I do have it. Okay. That might make an appearance. Okay. Jaden Kennedy, that is a slot corner that the Cardinals met with. And that's a guy that I kind of had on my list of guys I was looking at. If I waited on slot corner, obviously I got the guy who was, earlier, so I'm not anymore. But that was a guy the Cardinals have reportedly met with. Yeah, the John Michael Heiser Center Schmitz. Yeah, that one was fun too. Definitely. Okay, so I'm going to need Jack Kennedy, then Eric Hunter. Okay. Nope. Huh. Hunter. Where's Eric Hunter? There is no Eric Hunter, linebacker. I have to add him to the end here because he's not. This is the first player who's not even on the consensus big board. Let me make sure I'm not Morgan. Nope. Okay. I literally have to go down here to the bottom and add this guy. Pick 157, Detroit. Eric Hunter, linebacker, Morgan State. And I highlight that guy who's taken. Wow. Okay. Someone's just typed in slot corner for the Panthers. All right, so we've got TJ Hall. Okay, Nate. Let's see here. Got to get caught up on here. We got TJ Hall. Okay, he just went on, found him, mark him off on my sheet. 159 to Carolina. And then we need to find Bork. Okay, there we are. Texas A&M tight end Nate Bork. Borkacher or something like that. He is off the board. He is pick number 158 to Carolina. Now we need to find Devin Marshall, cornerback, NC State. Mark him off. Okay. Devin Marshall. Where is he in here? There. Nope. Let's just search Devin. No. Devin Marshall. There we go. Mark him off as off the board. He is 160 to Green Bay. Daquan Wright. Find him. Got a little bit of run on tight ends here, which, I pondered the idea of a tight end for depth on day 3. Still not out of the question, but not kind of a top priority for me. All right. Oh, okay. It said that he was okay, and the combine. So is HBC? Oh, okay. Well, obviously HBCUs obviously don't get the attention they deserve. That must mean that my guy Roar of the Lion UK are doing the draft. Let's see who I can tell you who's doing the Lions. They have we have a spreadsheet that has their Twitter. So let me find. Let's see. Let's see if I can go. Who is doing okay? Detroit Lions. ROTL_UK. Yep, that is who is doing the pick. You called it. So there you go. Katron Allen, running back out of Penn State. That's a guy I liked if we were going to look running back later. I've talked about, he reminds me a little bit of Tyler Algier in terms of not the most physically gifted, but good vision and things like that. So I wasn't looking running back now. You knew it. Yep, Grandizer knows, right? Yep, I knew it. Grandizer knows the content creators. So Katron Allen, I like, for Baltimore, I think that's a great pick. Just a guy who's just vision solid, but not a guy who's going to be a number 1 running back in the league. Likely, you never know, but probably not. But so I like that pick. So let's see. Trying to get caught up on. Okay, Harold Perkins Jr., the linebacker out of LSU. The linebacker run continues, right, in this round. I mean, it makes sense. This is a good spot ranking wise for the linebackers. So 163, Minnesota. All right. Huge. All right, so Bishop Fitzgerald. Okay, this is a safety I've drafted a lot. I kind of liked him. I often compared at least his skill set to Jalen Thompson. Reminds me a lot of him in that regard. Plays, all over the place, slot, versatile. The one knock on him is the physical tools are not high end, I guess. So that's why he kind of doesn't go earlier. But on day 3, I like him. Any progress in the healing of James Conner? I haven't heard. So I haven't heard. Obviously, they're bringing him back, so they feel good about it, right? But they also brought at least that he's going to be able to play this year. But I haven't heard anything specific. Yeah, I think. Yeah, he's a safety, but he also has played in the slot. He like Jalen Thompson. He really does like his usage reminds me a lot of Jalen Thompson. In that regard, just a guy who he's a safety by definition, but he also can play in the slot, and that's obviously what we are needing. So that's a guy who has been in a lot of my mock drafts. Later in the draft, but since we got since we went after Kamari Ramsey, that's no longer anything we're looking for. But yeah, okay, so let's see. Okay, Cole Brevard, defensive tackle, run stopper out of Texas. That's a player I wouldn't have minded for the Cardinals a little bit later. Okay, Keegan Trost. Mark him off. Okay, he was a guard out of Missouri. He went 166 to Jacksonville. Okay. And let's see who the Texans go with now. Okay. Let's see. We're picking at pick 183, so we've still got a good, almost 20 picks, 15 to 20 picks away. Got a little bit of time. All right. Keegan Trost. So let's see what the Texans go with. All right. So I think we can start looking, 15 and 20 picks out based on who's still there. There's some interesting guys. I can tell you if he's still there. There's a guy I was considering. There's actually a couple guys I was considering taking with the last pick that if they're still there, I would be delighted. Okay, Jaeger Burton. We got another offensive lineman off the board. I'm good with that because that's not anyone I was targeting. There are a couple defensive linemen and even receivers that I really like who are still on the board, that if they are still on the board when I pick next, I will quickly take them. Very quickly. A defensive lineman and a receiver that I really like at this point in the draft. We'll see who's still there. If they're still there, they could absolutely fly off the board in the coming picks. But we shall see. Got a handful of folks using my draft tracker, which is always nice to see. Brian Parker, offensive lineman. Okay, that's it's a good value for him. They got him at pick 168, and he's 111 on the big board. We talked about him, I think, yesterday. Center. Let's see, 168 to Buffalo. That's a good pick. Michigan defensive tackle Rayshon Benny. That's a guy that I don't mind. I mean, he's a guy I would consider. Hohenvaya saying, I think is that who you mean, Rayshon Benny? That's the next highest grade one. If he's there, I would consider him for, no doubt. We'll see. There's other players I'm also keen on that are still on the board. So we'll see how things fly off in the coming picks. So yeah. Let's see. There's a couple players that I like, though. Let's see. All right. There's a receiver or two, at least one receiver I really like, but there's multiple defensive linemen that are still on the board that if one of them's there, probably need to really consider that. There's some receivers I like a little later that I might wait on, so we'll see. Did I draft or plan to draft two? No, I don't plan to draft. I'll tell you, offensive line, we brought in the guy from Pittsburgh that we signed, the free agent who's a veteran who I think is going to start. And we have three young guys that we've drafted in recent years. Isaiah Adams. Of course, my brain. Let me bring up. Let's see. Hayden Connor and John Gaines. That's it. And I like those guys as guys that I think we're going to get at least one starter out of those three guys, and potentially two future starters. So I think between Isaac Samalu, who we brought in as a free agent to start, and those three guys, Gaines, Connor, and Adams, I just think we're going to end up getting our other starting guard out of that. So I'm not prioritizing a guard. And center, we have Froholt. Could we use a developmental? Sure. But those are not high priorities for me. I would be open to adding someone to the mix if the value is right, but I'm not targeting that. So, yeah. Demon Claiborne, running back, goes to the Chiefs. Okay. So that's what just came off the board. Responding to a text. All right. Had someone text me about something related to something else I'm interested. That's really interesting. Okay. So let's see. Demon Claiborne. We had a running back. I'm not targeting running back. Okay. Albert Regis. We have. All right. We have a defensive lineman going here. So we've got to kind of... my mocks I've taken DT early, so I'm learning these late rounders. Yeah, I was taking them early before, but lately I haven't. But I definitely, though, see the interior defensive line as a pretty big area of need for the Cardinals. Like I know, again, we just brought back Roy Lopez. Walter Nolan flashed, but you need depth in that room. You need more, and you need just a rotation of guys. And so I see that as a position that they absolutely need to continue to add to. I feel like in my view, you kind of need to add at least one every draft until you have a really good room, even if it's day 3, guys. In fact, that's I kind of at this point probably what I kind of lean towards is going with day 3. So Albert Regis is off the board. We're getting about 12 picks or so from my pick. Man, there's a couple guys I really like still on the board that I'm surprised fell this far. All right, we got Aaron Anderson, wide receiver. Is he out of LSU, I believe? So let's mark him off. Find him. Okay, yeah, he's ranked 256. Just went off the board, so someone must really like him. LA Chargers. Okay. My line of thinking, edge and DT early would help D plus safety. Like if they lasted 2 my picks. Yeah, I mean, I'd be very happy if we could took a defensive lineman early. I'd be all for that. Obviously, I went edge and then got the offensive tackle and both in the first round with this, and then moved around a bit to do that. I didn't like the value defensive line before. Coming up though, based on guys who've kind of slid, there's some good value if there's some good value on the defensive line if some of the guys that are still there continue to slide. That it's going to be hard for me to pass on that. So I'll probably there is an above average likelihood that my next pick is a defensive lineman. So we'll see what happens, though. There's certainly some teams can play spoilers and take the guys I like very quickly, and then that changes the strategy. But I see on my kind of tracker some guys that are still there that I'm surprised. Upgrading D-line would help offense, ball, edge. Yeah, right. So edge, right tackle, defensive line, first 3 picks. I don't hate that at all. I mean, and I think I went corner. I went like defensive back, like safety slot in the 3rd round because I didn't like as many of the guys that were available later for that. So I felt like the value was, and I will say like it is working out the way I'd hoped, I would say, because did someone just put on a pick that was already taken, or is he there, TJ Hall? I see TJ Hall there, but I feel like maybe not. Oh, no, yeah, they just deleted that, right? I think they had put the wrong name in. Like I would say, like if I had gone defensive line in the 3rd round, the guys that I would have taken there, like I don't like them better than the guys that are going to be look like they might be available now, if that makes sense. But I do feel like the slot corner safeties that I'd be looking at now, I don't like as much. So I feel like the order that I took them in, we'll see how it plays out. But if some of the defensive linemen I'm seeing that are available on the board are still there, then I'm going to feel good about the order that I took that in. It looks like they were about So Ravens had TJ Hall on the board, but he was already taken, so they're fixing that. Yep, and someone mentioned there's a group chat here. Someone already mentioned that. So you took, I don't know, Waiwu. I don't have Naiwu. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name. But you took him in some mocks out of Oklahoma. Yeah. All right. So the Baltimore Ravens are now pivoting because the guy they were taking is actually already taken. So they don't have, they must not have their draft tracker. They missed. So we'll see who they end up taking now. And there are a couple guys though still on the board that I'm very surprised are there. Very surprised. So Buzz was maybe gonna join in. But maybe he is not. I know he had some errands he was running. So this is flying by though pretty quick. Are they going to make their pick? Come on, Baltimore. You got back-to-back picks. Let's get those picks in. They're chatting. I see them typing in. Someone typed in the group chat that Hall was already taken, and I saw that they were the Ravens was typing something. My players are getting on my radar, like quarterback Scott round, third round. I went towards, you're thinking as well, yeah. And like Scott was a guy I was considering in the third round as well, right? I ended up going again, Kamari Ramsey. I think he was rated a little higher and good fit. And I believe the Cardinals met with him. I could be wrong. So, yeah. Some folks are typing in the chat. Okay, they took their first pick, Thaddeus Dixon. Okay, a cornerback out of North Carolina. Okay, so 173 to Baltimore. Okay, and they got back-to-back picks here, so let's see what they do here with their next pick. Looking just some stuff in the chat. Okay, so now we have couple picks up. Punter off the board. Brett Thorson, punter out of Georgia going to Baltimore. So we have a punter taken. Pick 174 to Baltimore. And then we have Robert Spears Jennings. Safety out of Oklahoma. Going to 175 to Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, good couple picks that came off the board now. Okay, so we are moving fast and furious. Okay, and then coming up, pick 183 before you know it. Before you know it. Yeah, let's see. They got a guy from Miami, so they can be preaching players. Yeah. So let's see what's going on. Oh man. I think, yeah. All right. Chiefs are on the board. I know there was a little bit of confusion about a potential trade behind the scenes that I think. Let's see. Someone's looking to trade up. Okay. Buzz had a trade that got vetoed by the people running it because they didn't feel like it was like realistic enough. It was a player trade for picks, so that makes it complicated. So the moderators are trying to make sure that the trades are fair, reasonable, realistic, and there is a little bit of a. Let's see, Dallin Bentley, tight end from Utah. There's a little bit of an interesting kind of element to that too, because because like the way this is set up, right, is we can do trades and we can trade future picks. The tricky part is like even the folks who are doing this every year, there are a lot of folks who've done this for years. Not, I'll probably do it again if this was fun. Each year they reset it. They actually do it based on the actual picks, right? So if I'm trading for or away future picks, I won't actually get to make those picks next year, or the other team won't get to unless those trades happen in real life. So, theoretically, if you wanted to try to game the system, I could be like, yeah, I'll trade, Grandizer will enjoy the voice. I'll trade all my 2027 picks to move up to the first round. Whole draft, do it the Ricky Williams trade. Someone could theoretically do that and game the system and get an extra pick, but that would not be realistic because teams aren't likely to do that. And, you're doing that knowing that you're not having to actually give up those picks if you're doing this next year because it won't be realistic. So I understand. In fact, someone asked in the comment to the video, why not do something like that? And they want it to be as realistic as possible so the managers would veto something like that, right? So I get that, right? So I'm not going to try to push that, and I get that they would veto that. All right, now here's a good player that I was on my radar, just went off. Markel Bell, offensive tackle out of Miami, big and toolsy, really good in pass protection. Maybe needs to work a little bit in run blocking, a little bit of work, but he's so big and big old wingspan. This is the guy. If I did not take offensive tackle in the first couple rounds, right? If I for some reason decided that I was not going to, prioritize an early right tackle and that I was going to let the guy, we got a couple, Elijah Wilkinson, Matt Pryor, a couple of veteran journeymen we brought in. If my mindset was we can start those guys, let's get a developmental prospect with traits who doesn't have to start right now and develop that guy and not go early like I did, that Markel Bell is the guy I would have gone with as the traitsy guy that I want to develop. So I wasn't going to take him likely, but that's a guy I liked and that I was looking at, like I would have looked at if he was still, if I hadn't gone tackle earlier. So I like that prospect. Now, Tyler Oneidem, I don't know how to pronounce it, from Texas A&M, interior defensive lineman. Eagles just took him. That is a player the Cardinals have met with. Versatile defensive lineman who was on the board of guys I would look at. So, he's a guy that I would have considered who comes off the board. There are other guys I like at this spot coming up, but that's a player that was on my radar for sure. And Grandizer approves of the voice. Yeah. All right, we got some picks flying off the board. I'm gonna be so we got Tanner Cozio. Then let's see where this guy is. Yor Bernard, okay. All right, this guy is interesting. This is a guy who's new to football but has just elite athleticism out of Nigeria, right? So that's an interesting prospect, So you're banking on a guy with just elite physical traits who just is very new and hasn't really played much, if at all. So that's an interesting one. Okay, then we have Seth McGowan, running back out of Kentucky. This guy's an interesting story. If you want to read up on him, I read something about him. Had some legal trouble, like serious legal trouble that he, has had to kind of learn from and has really delayed his career. But, a lot of people pulling for him, hoping and believing that he's kind of, that's all behind him and needs, giving him a second chance kind of thing. So it's an interesting story. I believe, did the Cardinals meet with him? I'm trying to remember if they did. All right, so we're coming up. Okay, I have to lock in because coming up in a couple picks. Okay, Buffalo's on the board, then it's me. All right, I need to lock in here. Lock in, chat, as the kids say. All right. There are a couple players I really like here that are still here. And yeah, I think it's between, okay, Jalen Duggar, something or other. That's okay, probably defensive back. Now I'm on the board. I am between Xavier Harris, Rayshon Benny, Dante Corleone. Brennan Thompson's also a consideration. Xavier Harris off the field stuff, but so, says he claims it was him trying to show off and it's behind him. It's significant. But this late in the draft, I think I have to take a chance. He's built just in a way that you can't coach it. All right, Xavier Harris, that's the guy for me. I get the Cardinals did have reportedly met with him, and there are not insignificant off the field history, right? Multiple incidents. You just have to be aware of that. And I've read up about it, and he claims he was young, trying to show off. Does he get his act together? I don't know. I will take a chance on that in the 6th round for a guy who has rare traits. I mean, yeah, right. So hope, Nolan would be PP2 to Honey Badger 2.0, right? Like hopefully Nolan can help with that, right? So 100%. Okay, so I got to get caught up on here. We've got some guys that come off the board. Rayshon Benny is another guy I like. That he was a guy I was considering. He went to Las Vegas. You get Eric McAllister's a receiver that I kind of like. He was a guy I like as well. I would consider looking at the receiver position at TCU. He goes 184 to Tennessee. Okay, and Jaden Duggar, I gotta make sure I got him. Okay, linebacker, they out of Louisiana Lafayette. Mark him off. He's pick 182 to Buffalo. Okay, there we go. Okay, Pat Coogan, nice interior offensive lineman. Just went off the board. All right, let's see. Pat Coogan, Indiana. Number 186 to Miami. Okay. So I have one pick left. It's pick 217. And now, yeah, I mean, high to medium reward, medium risk. At this late in the draft, it's not as much of a risk, right? You like Coogan in the 7th, didn't you? I wouldn't mind him. I would have considered him. I think there's a lot of players I like there, but he's definitely a good player, right? But yeah, so like Xavier Harris, sorry, it's like the guy's like 6'8", I think. Like physically, I'm not saying he is nowhere near this player, but he is physically the closest thing to Calais Campbell in terms of his physical size that I've seen in a while. Just really big. Needs to work. What is up, Lance? Thanks for being in here, jumping in. We're doing a epic mock draft with a bunch of other creators, so I'm picking for the Cardinals. I'm not sure if you've caught any of this. So Xavier Harris is physically gifted, does need to work. He needs to refine his game a bit, but the tools are there. So to take him in the 6th round, yes, there's some risk there, but I will in the 6th round, I will take it. So, and Lance, I don't know if you caught this, and I'll just, for anyone who's watching, update, kind of give you a summary of my picks. I did a lot of trading around really throughout the draft. I've had multiple trades, like 3 or 4 trades. Traded back, got Ruben Bain at pick 5 after a trade. Traded back up. Okay, awesome. So you saw it. Okay. But I'll go ahead and continue with the recap for folks who might not have watched. Then I traded up to pick 26, got Blake Miller, the offensive tackle at Clemson, to be the right tackle of the future. Then in round 3, I did a little bit of a trade back and then got Kamari Ramsey, defensive back, like a safety corner. They need someone to replace Jalen Thompson, so this is kind of that mindset. In the I did another trade back up to get back on the board late in the 4th round, the 30th pick of the 4th round, pick 130. And I took Garrett Nussmeier. I'm not like targeting a quarterback, but like I thought Nussmeier might go on day 2, and he was still there at the end of the 4th round. So I took a developmental quarterback. Maybe he's just a future backup. I don't mind risking it there. I still am planning to take a quarterback early next year, but take Nussmeier, develop him. Then in the 5th round, pick 143, I took linebacker Keyshawn Elliott out of Arizona State. I think we need to add a linebacker to the room, so took a local product that a lot of people like. Then in the 6th round, pick 183, Xavier Harris, defensive line from Ole Miss, has some off-the-field history. Maybe he's matured. Cardinals have reportedly met with him. Add a really great, toolsy, big guy to the defensive line to develop, right? So you like the moving around. Not sure that will work out with the Giants, but I feel like thought drop back if possible. Yeah. So I'll tell you, and so we'll see how it works in real life. The best option for us for trading is someone who wants to move ahead of Tennessee to get Love, right? And for me, the idea of trading back there, I was going to take Ruben Bain if I was picking at 3, so I like that as well. Would love to see that duo on Sundays. Nolan Harris, right? Nolan Rumson, yeah. So I do want to make sure. Let me get this. I do have to get this draft tracker up to date because there's some other folks that are using it as well. So we've had a couple picks that I need to kind of get updated. Let's see. Dominic Tucker. So I need to get Damani Jackson marked on here. So he is a cornerback out of Alabama. He went a few picks ago. Okay. And so I've got a tracker that you all don't see that I'm highlighting and marking off the players they're taken. J.C. Davis is a tackle out of Illinois that I kind of liked if I was going tackle later, he's another guy I would have considered. So he goes 189 to Cincinnati. I think that'd be a really good pick for them. Brennan Thompson. Okay. Speedy little receiver out of Mississippi State finally goes off the board. That is a guy I was also considering for that last pick. Brennan Thompson, like the fact that he was still there, ran crazy good time, was a guy I was considering. But in the end, I just liked the defensive line value and just the fact that Xavier Harris was still there. It was just, I couldn't pass that up. So Jude Bowery, 191 to the LA Rams. That's totally that is totally on brand for them. They don't take offensive line early typically. Then we've got Isaiah World, offensive tackle out of Oregon. From what I read up about him, there's some significant injury history, or at least noteworthy, that is worth being concerned about. Can show us your picks thus far, please. Yeah, give me a moment, and let me get this updated, and then I will do that. Absolutely. So New York Giants took Isaiah World, so good player with some injury history. The guy who took them for the Giants, Buzz, was on with me yesterday, and Buzz coaches offensive line, so he knows what he's looking at. So I'm sure he saw the risk reward and liked that pick, right? All right, so now we got to get, Kevin Coleman Jr. Let's find him. Kevin Coleman. There we go. Kevin Coleman Jr., receiver out of Missouri. Got him. Got to get him marked off as picked. He is 193 to the Giants. So New York Giants add some receiver depth. That's nice. Then we've got Shadrack Banks out out of UT San Antonio. And he is pick 194 to Tennessee. And then Brandon Cleveland. He is a defensive lineman out of NC State, going 195 to Tampa Bay. Okay, I think I've got that all caught up. All right, let's see. Any way to see best position? I don't have something set up to show best position, unfortunately. But so I don't, unfortunately. All right, let me bring up. I'm going to have to share a different screen real quick. I'm going to share my big board real quick. Okay, let me make this much bigger. This is, here you see what I've taken so far. Okay, in fact, let me make this a little bit bigger. And okay, there's who I've taken so far. I've got one more pick 217. Okay, and then here I'll show you. This is the thing I'm using to track. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on there. I want it but here's the picks I've made. Right, so I'm going to though take that back out because I need to get back up to my regular tracker. There we go. Make sure I'm not missing. Okay. So that was where I was sharing who I picked. But I want to kind of make sure that I am keeping up with marking off the players. Okay. Dante the God. Okay. We've got Corleone. That's another player I was considering with my last pick, right? And he was taken 196 by the Vikings. The Skull Doctor, who I actually was on live with him. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you like them. I feel pretty good about how this draft has fallen for me, and also with the trades. So Dante Corleone goes to the Vikings, and I was the guy who took him for them. I was actually on a live stream with him the first night. Really nice guy. Had a great time chatting with him about stuff. So he's taken a guy that I really like too. So nice. So let's see. We're waiting to pick 217. So we got about 30 picks until my next pick. So they've got a good one there, I think, in Dante Corleone. Good run stopper. I think there's maybe just some questions about injury, but so there we go. And now we've got Josh Cameron, wide receiver out of Baylor, just went. So that's an interesting player who kind of, you look at kind of for later. That's kind of an interesting receiver. All right, Josh Cameron. There he is. Ranked 156 on the big board here. Just went up the board. Right, so 197 to Philadelphia. Nice pick for them. All right. This is organic draft. I like it. Do you feel any of these picks will end up being up with? I mean, and yeah, I really like. This has been a lot of fun. This is my first time doing this, and again, there's 30 something people doing. Like there are a lot of content creators, and it is kind of fun. And the trades have been fun because you're DMing folks and working out deals. And I had at least one deal was like, okay, if this guy's still on the board, I'll take it. All right, he's there. Let's make it happen. It's been a lot of fun. Man, it's always such a crapshoot how likely are these to be real picks. Heidenreich just went off the board. Oh no! I mean, love me Eli Heidenreich. Someone, the Patriots, of course. Of course they do. That's a good fit. Very Patriotsy kind of player. But loved Heidenreich. So here's what I will say about the likelihood of these being real. The actually happening. I have tried to be realistic in my draft, and I've taken players who the Cardinals have met with or that make sense need-wise. Players that it seems like are on their radar potentially in a lot of spots. So I think it's it wouldn't shock me if some of these picks became real, just because I've tried to be realistic in how I've approached them, and because the players I've taken are players at the Cardinals that I, maybe have had reported interest in, have met with at various points in the process, and fit what they need, and fit their scheme. So I've tried to take as realistic of approach as I can. So I feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility that a couple of these could be players they would take. And it's so hard to, you know, it's so hard to nail those picks in terms of realistic to actually get it right, because things play so differently. The first round is the easiest place, I think, to get those right, because there's so much focus and talk, and a lot of those picks end up being chalk. It's still even tough. So in my own mock draft history, where I've published mock drafts, like, for a couple, before the draft, a couple years, where I put out, here's who my predictive mock, and you don't hit them right very often. My best was the year they took Garrett Williams and Keitrell Clark. I got both those players right. Now, one of them I got the actual pick. The other one, they took him later than I had. I think Keitrell Clark, I had him as like a 4th round pick, and they took him in the 7th, but I did have the Cardinals taking him. Garrett Williams, though, I had the pick right, and what's even funnier about that, it was a pick they traded for. Now, I had a trade happening in my prediction mock. I had them trading away, what's his name? Now my brain isn't working. But the receiver that they were trying to trade, they couldn't trade, DeAndre Hopkins. I had that year, my mock, I had DeAndre Hopkins trade for pick 72, I think. And that they ended up trading for pick 72, but it was not for DeAndre Hopkins. It was part of like a trade back. And that pick that they took, Garrett Williams with pick 72, I think it was where that they traded for, was what I mocked to them. So I mocked a pick, the right pick, that was a trade, except what the trade for was not what it ended up being, right? So that was my best hit, those two. But it's so hard to get them because things play out so much. Really, for me, when you're looking at mock drafts, really, to be honest, the biggest thing is, when I'm doing mock drafts, it's more about getting a sense for the strategy or the philosophy. Like, do I think they're going to take Kamari Ramsey in the 3rd round? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's plausible. But the main point that I think is worth looking at is, I do think a cornerback / nickel / safety is absolutely a position they seem to be targeting based on who they've met with, what their needs are. It makes a lot of sense. So even though I may not get that player right, I think there's a good high chance that they're going to look at that position. And even if I get it wrong, if they take that position, I consider that a win if they take that position somewhere in the middle rounds, because it's like, okay, I thought they were targeting that. Maybe I didn't get the right player, the right pick. But the philosophy is the main idea, right? So that's kind of how I view it. It's where I consider it a win if I kind of have the right idea of the position they're going to take, right? Yeah, so you remember that, right? Yeah, maybe I'll get a few of these correct. That would be really awesome, right? Hit a new personal record, right? Hohen Vaya saying, I like that you took a quarterback, either potentially start or be groomed as a backup veteran. Yeah, absolutely. You need a good backup, and if there's a chance he becomes a starter, great. If he doesn't, so be it. Listen, remember, and not saying this is the best quarterback ever, but do you remember Washington when they took what's his name? The guy, I forget his name, but he had a flash in the pan. But they took Kirk Cousins the same year they took I forget his name, but maybe something help me in the chat. Who in the 1st round, and the guy in the 1st round ended up being good for a year. But Kirk Cousins ended up being kind of starter and then bounced around, but has been a solid starter as a 4th round pick, right? Overperformed for his draft status, right? RG3, right? Yep, Robert Griffin the second, or or third, right? So, like, if Nussmeier, it's that kind of a thing. It's like you take a guy, and if he ends up being your backup, that's fine, right? But if he ends up being a starter, great, right? So that's kind of the thought process. Okay, I need to get caught up on here. We have Cole Wisniewski, the safety out of Texas Tech's tall safety, really tall safety. I've had him on a few of my mocks, right? Cole Payton, that is an interesting guy, a very athletic quarterback who a lot of people think he's like, everyone talks about Drew Aller as a toolsy quarterback, right? But a lot of people think Cole Payton might be the guy teams are looking at, right? So he just went to Detroit, and then Diego Pounds. Yeah, granted, as our RG3, that's him. Thank you. Yeah, someone also mentioned in the chat. So, like, you look at, like, taking Nussmeier is a little bit like that. You're taking him as you're taking a shot on developing a guy who has some tools. Does he become a starter? Maybe not. But does he become a backup? Maybe more likely. But you need a good starting backup in the NFL, or you need a good backup in the NFL, right? So yeah, RG3, thanks for helping out for both of you. So with Nussmeier, like, and this is a long way of saying, just because I took Nussmeier now does not mean I'm not taking a quarterback next year. In fact, I'm still highly likely to take a quarterback next year, and Nussmeier's a 4th round pick. So, you take your quarterback this year, develop him and see what he becomes. Maybe he's more likely a backup, but that's fine. You need a good backup. On the outside chance that he becomes your starter, that's a bonus, right? Unexpected. So that's kind of how I'm approaching Nussmeier. And I kind of, so I will take him in the 4th round here and still absolutely take one next year, right? So yeah. So Ho Invite, you're saying, I would still love to see your thoughts on like 3 players positions per trade per round. Another fun way to try and predict are, okay, so maybe do like 3-player position or trade per round. Another fun. Unpack that for me. I want to make sure I understand what you're kind of suggesting there, because I'm not sure I'm following you fully. Tell me more. Say more. All right, Kendrick Lodge is one on the board, receiver out of Kentucky. I think Jace really likes him, AZ Jace. So that's a guy I had highlighted as someone to consider if he fell to me. But I'm going to be on the board before long. Pick 217, top of the 7th round is my next pick. So I got to get ready. There's some interesting guys still on the board. I think... I don't know that any of the guys I was looking at my last pick, maybe kind of one there, but this next pick, probably looking receiver. I have an idea of who I will look at if he's still there, but if he's not, I'll tell you, I got a couple guys that I'm looking at. I think one of them will still be there. Yes. Okay. Let's see how it plays out, though. There's a guy I really hope is still there, because when I pick, who I think the Cardinals have met with and might be interested in. If he's not, there's another guy I could consider. At this point I would consider him. Yeah. And who else? I'm kind of I need to look at some other options in case the guys I like go off the board. Okay. Let's look at wide receivers. There's a couple guys here I want to look at. A lot of the ones I was looking at off the board, but there's him. That's definitely a guy I'm looking at. Okay. And then him. Maybe not as much, probably more of a speed. And then another guy here I want to look at. Where is he? There he is. Yeah, like, so there's a couple guys that are very kind of interesting. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay, Kobe Baines, guard out of, I think he was out of Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. Just went up the board. Wasn't really looking at him closely. There he is. So he's off the board. Pick 208 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay. We're within 10 picks. Andre Fuller, cornerback. Okay, just out of Toledo, just went. Number 209 to the Washington Commanders. Okay, something like you did with the third pick. I know that later round get tougher, hence the position. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So maybe kind of look at with each. Are you saying with each pick, maybe identify three players, or identify a player, position, and a potential trade at each of those at pick, and just have three different kind of directions? Is that kind of what you're saying? Just let's see. All right. Once I make my last pick, I'm probably have to kind of jump off here. I've got a couple things I got to take care of, but we're getting closer and closer to that pick, and these are going fast and furious. So, yeah. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe we do something like that. I have to. I'm still thinking about what, if anything, I'm going to do right before the draft. If I'm going to publish something like that, I need to think about that. So it's definitely an idea worth absolutely considering. All right, I think I know who I will take if he's there at my next pick. It's a player the Cardinals have met with. So we shall see if he's there or not. But I think it makes sense if he is. All right. Oh, nope, he's off. They just took it. Just got sniped. Reggie Virgil is a receiver the Cardinals have reportedly met with. And of course, he goes right as I'm talking about him to Kansas City. All right. So now I need to pivot. I need to be ready to take my next player. Okay. There are a couple possibilities, no doubt. Man, oh man. All right. Let's see. So I need to hang on. I'm going to be right back. I hate to leave with dead air, but I need to step away for just a minute. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. Sorry about that, and thank you for your patience. All right, I see the stuff in the chat. Let me get caught up on some of the picks that have been made in my tracker so that I'm ready to go when my pick comes around. So Zane Durant, 211 to Baltimore. All right, that's a guy I had highlighted. I already went defensive line, so I wasn't going to take him, but that's a guy, if I had waited for defensive line, was a guy I might have been looking at. Let's see. Lorenzo Styles is a guy who's later. If I had waited later on safety, cornerback safety slot, he's a guy I might have looked at. So he went 2012 to LA Chargers. Then we have Moten. I need to get caught up on this because I'm going to be picking soon. Moten. I'm on the board. I need to kind of get over here and pick. Get ready to pick. All right. I'm on the clock. All right. Who am I going to take? Such a good question. Okay. I don't have a lot of time. So, probably looking receivers. And I think what I'm going to do, there's a guy who is a high upside receiver who I'm strongly looking at that I'm probably going to take. It's kind of a guy who you're taking a little bit of a shot on, but he's big, fast, strong, and if he pays off, he pays off, right? That is wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Jeff Caldwell, receiver out of Cincinnati, who is who I end up taking. He is big, strong, and fast, but needs some development. Physically, I know it's a lazy comp because he went there, but think like Alec Pierce, like physically, but big guy, who does fast, who a lot of long receptions, but needs some work. So, depth, the guy you're developing, that's a guy I would take. So, all right. So I need to get this, though, up to date. So you're right. I know there's at least one other group that's depending on my tracker. So I want to get it up to date for them. 218, San Francisco. I need to go back to the end of round 6 and kind of get these guys up to date. Okay. Toriano Pride, cornerback out of Missouri. Highlight him. He was pick 216 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Caden Wetchen. There we go. Caden Wetchen out of Iowa. Mark him off. They have kick return, punt returner, receiver is what he's listed as. They're going to have him being primarily kick return, punt returner, I guess. Styles. Yep, we got him. Moten. Okay, and then he was pick 213 to Detroit. Okay. Whew. So I think I've got that tracker up to date. Now we'll go back over here to this round. Oh, someone typed in, I think someone was trying to do the linebacker who went, and someone just marked, no, he was already taken. Okay. That'd be the second time someone tried to take someone who wasn't available. So I am now going to, let's see. Now that I've made my picks, let's see. I've got a tracker I've been using. Now that my picks are done, I don't mind sharing it. I had my guys I like highlighted. All right, so now I do need to lock this though. Or do I need to? Well, maybe I don't need to do that. Okay, sorry, thank you and sorry. I think I just got my last pick, the receiver, Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver. I am done with my picks. I have made all my picks. So let's see. Caden Barnett, offensive tackle at Wyoming. Highlight him. 220 to Buffalo. And then we have tight end out of Ohio State. That's a guy I'd also had looked at. Okay. Let's see. 220. Whoops. 2-1 to Cincinnati. Okay. All right. Now, got it. Looks like there's a trade coming in, but let's see. So we've got DeAndre Proctor. DeAndre. That guy is not even okay. That guy's not ranked, so I got to put him at the bottom. Add him to the list because he's not on this big board. So pick 222, Detroit. The second, so hey, your guy. This is the your guy who does the Lion stuff. Has taken two guys in this draft who were not on the big board. So he knows something we don't know, I guess, or something. For about a couple players. You mentioned the other guy, Eric Hunter, so you mentioned him. You talked about him a little bit. All right, let's see. James Newby, okay. Edge out of New Mexico, just went a moment ago. He has picked 223 to the New York Jets. So I'm gonna finish I'm gonna kind of continue to track these picks because I know there are other people using them, and then when these picks are done, then I will briefly kind of wrap up and talk about kind of my draft, and then kind of go from there, and then probably wrap up the live stream. So. Let's see. We need a Riley Malman, offensive tackle out of Wisconsin. So now we're getting to the point in the draft where, there's a lot of players here that might end up being undrafted free agents. When you get to the 6th and 7th round, the difference between a UDFA and a guy drafted in this round is sometimes nothing, and sometimes the UDFAs might even be better than some of the guys that get drafted here. But, teams are taking guys they want to make sure they lock in and filling holes, and special teams guys. So, these guys are taking the 200s, sometimes might be 300 plus on the big board rankings, but it's so close at this point that it's, kind of negligible, the difference. But here we go. So we got a few more picks coming in. Jets are on the board. Looks like they're taking a defensive tackle. Not sure who. We'll see in a moment. Jordan Vandenberg. Okay, Vandenberg. That's a guy. Okay, I know Brett Coleman really likes him. He's really good against the run. That's a guy I had highlighted as a consideration. So if I had not done defensive line was my 7th round. If I had waited till the 7th round for defensive line, there's a good chance Vandenberg would have been the guy if he was, unless some of the other guys I like were still there. So I think I like that pick. Maximus. Maximus. Matt. Well, let's see. Pulley out of Wofford College. He's also not on the board, so Bengals with some. Let's get see if we can find Inez Cooper. Okay, to get him marked off, and then we'll go create the space for the guy. Oh, there's your guy. I think Subkovitz that you were talking about just went off the board. 227 to Miami, and sub. Daniel, is he not on the board either? So I got a couple guys that are not actually on the consensus big board, so I got to add them at the bottom. A couple more guys. Okay. We have 226, Cincinnati, NA, that is Maximus Pulley. He is a safety out of Wofford College. And then we have at pick 228 for Washington, and a ranked. We've got Daniel Sobkowitz, wide receiver out of. Where's he out of? It? They didn't put in his college. Let's see. He's a steal, right? Okay. I know you mentioned him before. You liked him. And to your team too. So you're excited, right? No, wait, no. Commanders. Miami got Inez Cooper. So maybe not. Let's see. Daniel Sub is out of Illinois State. Okay, and then we just had Carson Beck. Okay, Carson Beck just went. Quarterbacks really slid in this. People just aren't taking them. Like I could, look at how late he went. I could have waited much. I think Nussmeier would have been gone. In real life, I don't think they. I think more quarterbacks go in like the fourth and fifth round than they have here. But it's interesting how if I want Cade Klubnik is a guy I kind of like, right, as a late round quarterback for them. And I could have absolutely got him in my last one, right? So that's interesting. Yes, Grandizer. I saw, Illinois State. Yeah. I looked him up on Google and I kind of filled that in, but thank you. Yes. So Carson Beck goes. So just got a buzz. He just sent a message apologizing that he couldn't jump in. He got caught up. No worries at all. All right. Cyrus Allen. Okay. Cyrus Allen, when I took Caldwell, he was a receiver out of Cincinnati. Cyrus Allen was another guy I was looking at. Cyrus Allen is smaller, right? So Cyrus Allen was also in consideration, but I went with the big, high upside, toolsy guy, speed, like Caldwell. Look him up. That guy is a physically just crazy good, crazy tools. It's just a question of does he develop? But I would tell you, Cyrus Allen is a very on-brand pick for the Steelers. I think they take wide receivers later. He's a smaller receiver. They've had some success with guys like Emmanuel Sanders and smaller, obviously Antonio, what's his name, who was really good for them. So taking a smaller tools, little receiver that they might develop, that feels very on brand for Pittsburgh. So yeah. So we're getting closer to the end here in this mock draft. There's only to pick 257. We're at pick 230. They are flying by 230. Caden Curry. Okay, this is an edge out of Ohio State, I believe. Yep. Caden Curry is interesting. He's a guy who he's fallen this far. He's super productive, high characters. Good kind of locker room guys. What I hear. But he doesn't have the elite, the physical tools that would have him go earlier. So he's a guy that you know, productive, but at the next level may not have the tools you're looking for to be, that guy. But I certainly looked at Caden Curry. Like I've taken him in some of my mock drafts. Is a guy that I kind of like a little bit later, as a possibility. So, if I didn't go edge early and I was just looking for like a guy to maybe add to the room to be part of the rotation, that's a guy I kind of like there. So I wonder if Carson Beck is the one team away from due to his girlfriend. I don't know if you heard that they stay away from. I heard something about that. Maybe I think there's a lot of people don't like him for other reasons too. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter. To me, most would frown upon Beck's girlfriend. I assume maybe if I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, has a certain type of career that's. Yeah. I will tell you. I don't know that's. I could be wrong. I think it's. I know there's some people who have some questions about. I think how he responded to some things with the media or with. I don't know. I don't know all of it super. I'm not really fully versed on it, but. Clearly fans have opinions about him. We'll see what teams think, right? So yeah. The Cardinals have reportedly met with him, but obviously I went with Nussmeier as kind of the quarterback that I went with instead. So yeah. So let's see. Rams are on the clock. Are they going to get their pick in anytime soon? So yeah, and I guess while we're waiting for these picks to kind of come in, I'll go ahead and kind of talk about, wrap up kind of my draft, and we'll probably end this live stream soon. Thanks to everyone who's been hanging out with us. So, again, in the first round, in fact, I think what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and share my picks here because. I don't have to share my tracker anymore. Right now at least. So, here's what we ended up with, right? Ruben Bain Jr., Blake Miller, Kamari Ramsey, Garrett Nussmeier, Keyshawn Elliott, Xavier Harris, Jeff Caldwell. Yeah, right. There you go. Right. Yeah. Going back to back. So listen, we'll just kind of put a recap on this, put a bow on the ribbon on this, and I'll probably end the live stream. I can kind of continue to track, the picks for the rest of the teams in a moment. So listen, Ruben Bain was a guy I would have taken at 3, had an opportunity to trade back and add a second round pick next year in this mock draft, which adds the capital that we have in a great draft next year. If we want, having a second round pick in next year's draft would be awesome, or we can use it to trade it for a quarterback next year. And I took Ruben Bain at pick 5, the guy I would have taken anyway. Someone reached out to me from Buffalo, representing Buffalo. And then, asking if I wanted to trade up for Ty Simpson. I said no, but am interested in trading for something else. And so we kind of had a plan in place, and we had a deal in the works. And if my guy was there, we made the trade, and we did. Traded up to 26 for Blake Miller. I traded away our second round pick, number 34, and our fourth round pick to move up to 26. Got an offensive tackle. There was a run that was going on them, so it was a really, really good kind of spot. I got the guy I wanted. And then, in the third round, I traded back from, I think it was 65 was our original pick, and I traded 75 and got a couple other picks. Then ended up taking Kamari Ramsey. And I was looking at when that was happening, I was waiting to see if Traydon Stukes would still be there, and he was gone when I picked. So when Traydon Stukes was gone, I traded back and I got Kamari Ramsey, who I probably would have, if I had stayed at 65, I might have taken Kamari Ramsey anyway because Traydon Stukes was gone. So I traded back, got the guy I probably wanted, and I had another additional pick in the 6th round, I think it was. But I after hours, I made a trade to move up to pick 130. And I gave away pick 186 to do that. And then at 130, I got Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback. We talked about him earlier. Then at 143, was looking linebacker. Some of the other linebackers I liked went off the board before then, but Kayshawn Elliott was the guy I was looking at, so got him. Then at pick 183, Xavier Harris, I thought he would be long gone, was still there, so I couldn't pass it up. And pick 7th round, pick 217, it was kind of, a lot of the guys I liked were gone. Reggie Virgil was the guy I really wanted. He was already gone, but I wanted to get a receiver, so I went with Caldwell, who has a lot of potential and upside, right? And so what needs that were not addressed in this draft? That's a good question. The needs were addressed, I feel like, in what I did. Would you like to have another depth tight end, a blocking tight end? Maybe you can get that. Some guys I like have so far not drafted. So maybe you get a drafted free agent. Guard, maybe another guy to add to the rotation, but I like the young guys. Running back, it's not a good running back class. You can get a running back any year. No need to push for that. So I really think I hit all of the needs. So I don't know. I kind of like it. I feel like I did what I needed to do. So listen, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this live stream. I don't have any more picks, but I do want to get back to tracking the ones that have been made for the people who are using my tracker. So thanks for hanging out with us. I will post some info about this mock draft on Twitter, see what people think. And obviously watch for Mock Draft Monday coming up. So everyone have a great weekend. We will talk to you soon.